Good morning. This is the perfect square trinomial video that is under objective 2. Alright, we are going to go over what it means to factor a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so before we actually start this, I want to review what a perfect square is. Okay, a perfect square is a number whose square roots are a integer. For example, okay, 25 is a perfect square trinomial because when you take the square root, you get a whole number or integer of 5. Okay? Or 36 is a perfect square because when you take the square root, the square root is a whole number of 6. Alright? So we could go down the line, but remember, a perfect square is a number whose square root is a integer or whole number. Alright? So there's a special trick. I like to call these the celebrity trinomials because once you recognize a perfect square trinomial, there's a quick trick to factoring them. Alright? So the first thing you need to do to check to see if we have a perfect square trinomial is to make sure that the first term and the last term are a perfect square. Alright? So if you want, you can use your calculator. So 49, if I take the square root of 49, it is 7, a whole number. Alright? Then I go to my last term. We already did 25, but I'll just do it in my calculator. Square root of 25 is 5, another whole number. So the square root of my first term and my last term were whole numbers. Alright? So this, I'm doing what I'm at the check to see if it's a perfect square trinomial. The next thing you need to do to see if you have a perfect square trinomial is to multiply your two square roots of your first and last term. So in my calculator, I do 7 times 5, okay? And then you have to double it, so I multiply by 2. And if that value equals your middle term of your trinomial, then you know that you have a perfect square trinomial, okay? So what that means is there's a trick to factoring it, all right? So my factors I can put as a parentheses with a square, all right? And in my parentheses, I'm going to put the square root of my first term, which is 7x, okay? We didn't go over this, but the square root of x squared equals x, which is considered a perfect square. So the square root of 49 is 7. The square root of x squared is x. All right? Then you take the square root of the last term, which is 5, and I put 5 here. And then in between them, I put the operation I see right here, which is a plus sign or an addition sign, okay? So my factor is going to be 7x plus 5 squared. So we're going to check this answer real quick just so you understand this. The square means that I multiply this parentheses by itself. 7x plus 5 multiplying 7x plus 5. So really quick, I'm going to use the distributive property. 7x multiplying 7x is 49x squared. 7x multiplying 5 is going to give me 35x. 5 multiplying 7x is going to be 35x. And 5 multiplying 5 is going to give me plus 35. If I combine my two like terms, which are in the center, I'm going to get 70x plus 35 and 49 squared up front. And is this the trinomial I have at the beginning? Sure is. So I know that if I want to write my factors, I can do it the short way and just write 7x plus 5 squared, okay? We're going to look at one example. We're going to go through this quickly because this is a trick, right? So to do this, first thing I do is check, are my first and last term a perfect square trinomial? So the square root of 4, okay, in my calculator, do that real quick, is 2. So I have a whole number. That checks it. Square root of my last term, square root of 9 is 3, which is a whole number. Okay, and if I multiply 2 and 3 and I double it, do I get my middle term? Is 12 my middle term? Yes. So I know I can use my trick. I put one parentheses, I square it, I take the square root of my first term, which is 2x, take the square root of my last term, which is 3, and I take this operation, put in between them, and boom, you have your factors for this trinomial.